Hi, this is Sylvia Sanchez, and I'm with, my website is DIY Stamping Fun, and today I want to share this really cool, fun and fancy fold card. It's really different because it has a different type of closure. It's closed off with this piece of beautiful berry burst ribbon, and then you just open it. And I've also added a little bit of stamping on the inside. So today, to make this card, we're going to use the needle and thread photopolymer set. It's actually part of a bundle. It also has some coordinated framelits, and those are called needlepoint elements framelits. And again, it is a bundle during celebration and occasions. And if you purchase them both as a bundle, there's a 10% discount for purchasing as a bundle and not separately. The other thing I'm going to use in this part of this product suite is the Needle Nook or Needlepoint Nook Designer Series paper. And it has all types of papers that look like they're embroidered or they're needlepoint, stitching. They're double-sided paper. It's 12 by 12, so you get a lot of different options. The amazing part about it is this series of papers, of designer series papers, coordinate with at least 11 different cardstock colors in the Stampin' Up! Collection. Okay, so let's get started. So one of the first things I want to mention before we start stamping is if you place an order between now and March 5th of 2019 and you use the host code, I will send you a kit like this with everything you need to create this card. It'll be punched and scored and cut for you. What I cannot do is, as per Stampin' Up! Policy, is I cannot do the stamping part for you. But other than that, you can do this at home with at least a $50 order on my website. The other cool thing is all $50 orders before tax and shipping also earns you a free celebration item in the celebration catalog. Okay, so let's start off with what we're gonna need to do. Okay, you're gonna need your scalloped tag punch, and you're gonna need half a sheet of cardstock. I'm going to use white only so that it'll be easier to illustrate the score lines and the cut lines on here. Instead of folding it with your bone folder and getting this crease, I want you to take the two ends and then you're gonna push them into the scallop tag punch. Make sure that it's aligned in there, straight, correct. Flip it around. You can see it's not level here, it's not straight. So jiggle it, wiggle it till it is lined up. There it is, we have it lined up. All right, since you're going through double cardstock, it's one piece, but it's doubled or it's folded over. Just punch, make sure you add force to it, and it's going to give you this. Okay, I did a template so that you could see what we're gonna cut and what we're gonna score. So, the solid lines are cut lines, and so that's where we're gonna cut off, and then the dotted lines are score lines. Okay, so you need to bring your trimmer in. I hope I'm within shot here. Okay, I may have to move back. All right, so what you do is, and I found this easiest, here's a little trick. Here's where your blade is gonna run through. Here's the track where the blade is running. So, what I do is, I kind of line up, this is where I wanna cut off, so I make sure that my pick tool is in the track. So that's where I know it's gonna cut. Then I line this one up as well. Okay, so that should be it. Once you put your run your blade, you can hear it and actually feel it when all of a sudden it's hitting where there's no cardstock. That's where you want to stop. So then get rid of that, and then come further down. Don't move your paper. And where there's no paper resistance, go ahead and cut that off. And so now you have one side. Scoot your paper over and do the same thing. So I'm making sure this tab is lined up. Make sure it's lined up on the top of your scoreboard so that you're cutting a straight line. Okay, see here, I need to move over. Here I'm fine. Put your blade, and this time I felt it stop right there. It kind of gets in the ditch or in the gutter. All right. And then come down to the next area. And this time, when you remove this, okay, bring your score blade and score that, all right? Now, I need to change my blade, I can tell, because I'm getting some rough cuts, but you can take your paper snips and just trim that off. All right. Now, take the part that has the score. So this is a part that has a score line. Line this corner. I hope you can see me. There. Line this corner to 4 1/4. All right. 4 1/4. Make sure it's lined up, and then score. All right. So then take your bone folder and score all the lines. So this is one, and then here's the other piece. So at the end, you end up with a piece looking like this. Now, sometimes you'll have a little gap here. Depends on how deep your punch went in, but it really is not going to matter because you are going to use ribbon to tie that off. So don't worry about it. So your punch may be a little bit closer. This little gap right here really isn't going to matter because you're going to add your ribbon closure. Okay, so then this piece, and I'll have all the dimensions, so don't worry about trying to keep track of all the dimensions and stuff. This piece of the designer series paper is 2.5 by 5 1/4. And I'll post it in the description of the video where you can get all this information. And then I'm just going to adhere it, kind of center it onto your cardstock. And now, this is rather dark to write in, so I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and we're going to label that. But before we actually do the stamping, I'm going to show you another trick. These are photopolymer stamps, and as you can tell on this one, this stamp, it has a straight line. So one easy way to line up your stamps is to line them up on your grid paper so that you know that you're straight. And then this is my acrylic block, and so I'm just going to set it down on there. So now I know that if I stamp like this, it's going to be a straight stamping and not wonky. So I'm using Berry Burst, and I'm going to ink up my stamp. And I love this stamps because it looks like it's little needle punches on it. Okay, and then I'm just going to add some adhesive. One thing I want to point out to you is when you do a card like this, with this design, you're kind of regulated to, or forced to, oops. Does this ever happen to you? Make sure your hands are clean before, so that you don't get ink. That happens more than I like for it to happen. I'm going to just use my little ink eraser here and rub that ink off. Okay, so saved it. All right, so the inside, you need to be, you'll have to sign right here or do this right here because it will show once you close it, or it may not even matter to you. You could do that to kind of get a little peek at what's to come. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is, this also comes with, I said it's a bundle and it has the needlepoint elements, and some of these framelits or thinlits, some of them cut out images and some of them just give you a design. This punch coordinates with the Pretty Label punch, which is in the annual catalog, but all this one does is it makes these perforated lines. I hope you can see that. So it just has little lines, it does a little outline. So I found it easier to take a scrap piece of Whisper White and I just ran it through the Big Shot, and it didn't, as you can see, it didn't cut out the image, but it gave me those little, it looks like I ran it through a sewing machine, but I don't sew, so that's a really cool thing to do. Okay, so now I know where I'm gonna stamp. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, these are distinctive stamps, and what that means is they're cut in such a way that they give you different depths. So it looks like there's multiple colors. You use multiple colors on one particular stamp set, but actually it's just the way the stamp is designed. All right, so I'm taking these little embroidered flowers and I'm stamping lightly, patting lightly, and I'm gonna just put them in the center. I hope you can see that. See how it has, like right here, it has a shadow, but it really looks like, this is the daisy stitch from embroidery. You can see that it looks like it's been embroidered, but it's not, it's stamped. So I stamped that using Petal Pink. I'm going to stamp the leaves that come in this, but before I do that, I'm going to stamp off on scratch paper so it won't be so, since this is a very kind of, and I'm gonna stamp off. So it's gonna go off the label. That's what I wanna do. Just have a hint of color. All right, there. And now I'm going back to Berry Burst ink. This was Lemon Lime Twist. Back to my Berry Burst. And this greeting says, people like you make the world a better place. I think that's such a beautiful greeting or a beautiful sentiment. So tap, tap, tap. And I'm going to stamp right over that. It's gonna be like my little background. Okay, there it is. Lots of wow to that. And then using the Pretty Label punch, I can now come in, line up so that the border does not get punched out. Okay. There's my label. Okay. Well, I thought it would get lost with all of this embroidery. So what I decided to do is I took some scratch berry burst, and I'm going to take the same punch, the pretty label punch, and I'm going to punch out 2. I'm punching out 2 because this punch, I wanted to create a little frame for it. All right, so the way you do that is you take 1 punch and then just cut down the center. All right, and then take the other one and go up the middle. All right, so now I'm just, if you use wet glue, the Tombow Mono liquid glue, let me get a nicer looking bottle, the Tombow Mono liquid glue, that gives you a little bit more wiggle room. And normally that's what I would do, but because of the video, I'm going to try to do this with the double-sided tape, which is called Snail among the Stampin' Up! Community. Okay, there it is. It creates a little frame, and now, because there is a gap right here, I'm just lining that up. And there you have a little frame for your card. Actually, that's it. You just take 11.5 inches of the Berry Burst ribbon, and that's what you're going to use as your closure. Tie it up. Then we're going to add, before we do that, let's add some dimensionals to the back. It doesn't look very nice back here, but nobody's going to see it. And then take, since I'm going to mail this, I'm going to make sure I have enough dimensionals on here so it doesn't get smushed in the machines. Okay, and so then place the sentiment and tie it up, and you're ready to put it in the mail and brighten somebody's day. People love to get cards that are handcrafted. All right. Don't forget to check my blog post for all the dimensions and the graphic for it. And again, my website is DIYstampingfun.com. And if you use the host code when you place an order of $50 or more, before tax and shipping, before March the 5th, or at midnight March the 5th, let's say, I will send you a little kit with the supplies to create this card. And again, I can't do the stamping, but you could probably use what you have or order this awesome stamp set. Thanks for stopping by. I hope that you like this video, and I plan to do more videos, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and go to my website, subscribe. I'll send you the latest information. You'll get my blog posts also if you subscribe on my blog, but my YouTube channel is a different subscription, so you'll get notified if you hit the little bell when I upload another video. And with the more likes I get, the more energy and more incentive I'll get to create more videos. I hope you really like this card. I think it's amazing. Anytime I've given this kind of card to someone, they're just amazed at the design for it. Okay, thanks again. This is Sylvia Sanchez with DIY Stamping Fun. Make sure you check out my website and also my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day.